Hey everyone, welcome to this explainer. Today we're diving into something really fantastic from Goko Omotola's work, customer retention and experiential approach. We're going to completely flip the script on that exhausting, never-ending treadmill of constantly trying to acquire new customers. Instead, we're looking at how to experientially retain the ones we already have. It's really all about treating people as long-term assets, not just, short-term transactions. All right, let's just dive right in. What if your best new customer is the one you already have? Seriously, I want you to just think about that for a second. It completely challenges that old-school business mindset of always chasing the next lead, the next sale, the next conversion. We get so wrapped up in the hunt for new numbers that we honestly neglect the incredible value sitting right there in front of us. So here's our game plan for today. We'll quickly cover the acquisition cost trap, move into the customer lifecycle journey, look at empowering frontline employees, talk about tech-driven customer intimacy, and finally, wrap up with some real-world retention masters. Let's kick things off with part 1, the acquisition cost trap. See, the traditional sell and move on mentality isn't just outdated, it's a massively expensive trap. We've got a huge data shock right out of the gate here. The cost of acquiring a new key customer is at least 6 times that of retaining a current one. 6 times! Think about all that marketing budget, the ads, the complex sales funnels, all that money and energy just to get someone to walk through the front door, when keeping the person who's already inside costs a literal fraction of that. And what's super fascinating is how the profitability breaks down when you look at the Pareto principle. Get this, a massive 80% of your profits actually come from just the top 20% of your retained customers. So if you're constantly churning through new buyers and ignoring your loyal base, you're essentially turning your back on the exact people generating the vast majority of your financial success. Make it make sense, right? The crucial takeaway here is just the stark contrast between these two paths. Acquisition, it's expensive, highly transactional, and totally fleeting. You spend the money, you make a single sale, and boom, it's over. But retention, on the other hand, it's profitable, it's experiential, and it builds true lifetime value. You aren't just ringing up a sale, you're crafting an experience that pays dividends year after year. Okay, moving right along to part 2, the customer lifecycle journey. When we stop treating customers like mere statistics, we step onto what we can call the relationship escalator. So everyone starts at the bottom as a first-time customer. That's just your initial transaction. But if you provide a killer experience, they step up. They become a repeat customer and then a client who uses you regularly. As trust really deepens, they become an advocate, actively telling their friends about you. Eventually, they're a partner, and at the absolute top, a part owner. And by that, I mean someone who is deeply spiritually invested in your brand's success. That right there is the journey from a simple transaction to an unbreakable bond. To actually measure the financial impact of that entire journey, we look at the lifetime value of a customer. Technically, that's the net profit realized on an average new customer over a given number of years. But honestly, more importantly, this fundamentally represents goodwill. By treating people as long-term assets instead of one-off hits, you're building this irreplaceable reservoir of goodwill that just anchors your entire business. Which brings us to part 3, empowering frontline employees. So how do we actually build all that goodwill? Well, this is the first of our 2 critical retention engines, and it's all about human connection. As Walmart founder Sam Walton so strikingly put it, there is only one boss, the customer, and he can fire everybody in the company from the chairman on down simply by spending his money somewhere else. Wow, that completely humanizes the data we just went over, doesn't it? It firmly establishes who holds the real power. And your employees absolutely need to understand this dynamic because they are the ones interacting with the boss every single day. The highest performing companies out there build retention by fiercely prioritizing their own staff. They recognize and believe in their people, they share product knowledge totally freely, they let staff take ownership and make real decisions, and they fundamentally value their employees way over material goods or machines. There is a direct, unbreakable correlation here. Employee retention drives customer retention. If you spend a fortune acquiring key customers but totally fail to train and empower your staff to serve them, it's basically an exercise in futility. All right, part 4, tech-driven customer intimacy. This is our second retention engine. And look, it's so important to get this straight. Technology does not replace the human touch we just talked about. It scales it. By embracing digital transformation, things like AI, chatbots, and really user-friendly mobile apps, you aren't just pushing the customer off to a machine. Not at all.
You're actually making sure they have seamless, 24-hour instant support for their most common questions. You're maintaining that intimacy around the clock, meeting them exactly where they are, whenever they need you.
And to pull that off, you've got to be active across multiple digital touchpoints. We're talking your company website and apps, email and SMS alerts, loyalty programs, social media, and real-time feedback systems. The whole shebang. Having this 360-degree digital view helps you intimately understand their purchasing behavior. It even lets you predict what products or services they're going to want next, so you can anticipate their needs before they even have to ask. How cool is that?
Finally, Part 5, Real-World Retention Masters.
We've talked a lot about the theory and the data, so let's see what this experiential retention actually looks like out in the wild. Take this fascinating case study on the ASOS delivery strategy. They launched a service called Follow My Parcel that gives you real-time tracking with incredibly precise 15-minute delivery windows. 15 minutes. It even lets you reroute the package to a neighbor on the fly if you step out. The big takeaway here is that they are giving control and transparency directly back to the buyer. That simple act drastically reduces customer anxiety and builds the deep, deep trust required for long-term retention.
And then, of course, we have Zappos. They are famously obsessed with the customer experience. Their approach is, frankly, radical. Get this, their longest recorded customer service phone call was 8 hours and 23 minutes. No way, right? Plus, every single staff member, all the way up to the CEO, undergoes a compulsory 2-week customer service training, and they offer a massive 365-day return policy. It just proves that true retention is about forging a real, experiential, human connection, not just maximizing robotic call center efficiency. They aren't measuring how fast they can get you off the phone. They're measuring how delighted you are when you finally hang up.
This kind of relentless consistency is perfectly captured by Jeff Bezos, who said, "Never settle for 99%. We are never satisfied until it is 100%. True retention absolutely requires this level of customer obsession. It's about constantly innovating to make your buyers more successful, because you know that even a tiny, tiny drop in satisfaction can send them running straight to a competitor."
Which brings us to one final, really provocative thought to leave you with. To what extent will you go to retain an extremely difficult customer? Because, let's be honest, it is so easy to retain the happy, easygoing ones. But how you handle the difficult ones, the ones who totally test your patience and your processes, that defines your company's true character and your ultimate commitment to retention. So take a moment today to reevaluate your own operations. Are you just processing transactions, or are you genuinely building lifetime experiences? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep focusing on those relationships, and I'll catch you next time.